All right, City Clerk, can we have the roll?
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Here.
Alderman Suffredin. Here. Alderman Ravel. Here. Alderman Rainey. Here. Alderman Fleming.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 12th meeting of the Evanston City Council. Second thing on the agenda is Mayor's public announcements. Just a couple of really quick things. As many know, the Trump administration took down some really important information that was on the federal website. And the city of Evanston, along with many other cities, have organized and put that information up. So climate change is real, and you can find it at cityofevanston.org. Climate change is real, and it's the information that used to be up at the EPA website and is now up at the City of Evanston. Just two things to note. Today is the one-year anniversary of the terrible shooting at the Orlando Pulse Club. And it's something for us to all keep in our minds. I was really proud of the faith community here in Evanston who organized and as part of a much larger coalition around the United States to ring bells at 12 o'clock 49 times for the 49 victims of that terrible, terrible event. And then closer to home, our thoughts and prayers are with the Joy family. One of the victims recently in Chicago was Xavier Joy, whose father, Ra Joy, is a Evanstonian and a beloved member of this community. So thoughts with many here in the community are with the Joy family. So that concludes the mayor's public announcements for today. City Manager, do you have any announcements?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening. 4th of July is right around the corner. We have representatives here from the Evanston 4th of July Association, and they're going to make a presentation. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, manager, and clerk. I'm Tracy Alden, president of the 4th of July Association. Hillary Bean is one of our trustees. First, congratulations to the new mayor and other council members. In fact, Alderman Fleming, I'm in the 9th, so congratulations, and look forward to working with you in one way or another. We are here to be brief, though, on the 4th of July. Hopefully everyone has received something like this, which is our flyer. We are a nonprofit organization that puts on the 4th of July celebration every year for almost 100 years, since 1922. The city is very supportive. We continue to work together closely, where you provide police, fire, public services, recreation, and we provide the manpower and the organization to put together the morning playground activities, a fun run, the parade, of course, the concert at night, and the fireworks. Big tradition in Evanston for years and years and years, and we want to make sure you are all aware of that. It's on the 4th of July, of course. Mark your calendars. Less than a month away. This little thing, though, we are honoring this year. Our theme is Evanston, America's Heroes, our first responders, Evanston Heroes. So the police chief, fire chief, and the Northwestern chief will all be our marshals, our grand marshal this year. Hillary is working feverishly on our book. This is last year's version. But all citizens in Evanston, we hope you will find this and make a generous contribution. As I said, we are a nonprofit organization depending on the community for funds, and through your either entry in the parade or generous donations, that's what makes this organization continue. The police and fire we can't work without them. Mayor and aldermen and city council and manager have all been very supportive. So we're here to say thank you and for the continued support. I know we've had a lot of other things on your agenda tonight. Hillary, anything?
Briefly, I spoke with Kimberly. She said she'll be organizing you all's being in the parade this year. For the new aldermen, it is a tradition that the aldermen, if they're in town, participate in the parade. So Kimberly is supposed to be organizing that. We welcome you. And That's it, just
I'll just,
ads.
one more play, exactly, ads. So in our book here, we sell ad space, so if there's any businesses, individuals, corporations that would like to buy an ad in this fine program, you can see me or Hillary right as we go, or go to the website, but we have a little form here, and again, we just want to welcome you, hope to see you on the 4th of July, marching down Central Street with the rest of us, and if there's any questions, we'll answer them.
EvanstonFourth.org.
EvanstonFourth.org, she said. Evanston, that's with a 4.
Donate generously. Evanston number 4, TH.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Great, thank you.
All right.
And a second announcement, our Equity and Empowerment Coordinator, Pat Effingham, asked me to announce that the city's Equity Climate Survey will be launched on Friday, June 16th. It'll be available on the city's website. Hard copies will also be available at all city facilities, the Jacob Blake Manor, Prim Tower, as well as the YWCA and the YMCA. The survey will be available in both English and Spanish through July the 2nd. Unfortunately, due to the length of the survey, it will not be available through 311. But certainly, if individuals wish to get a copy of the paper survey and are unable to make it to one of those facilities, they can certainly call 311 and we'll make arrangements to get them that sent survey. And that concludes my announcements.
Terrific. Thank you, Mr. Bobkowitz. City Clerk, any announcements?
Yeah, I have 3 very quick announcements. Last week, myself as the clerk and interns from the clerk's office went down to Springfield to support and watch the passage of automatic voter registration here in Illinois. So it passed the Illinois House by 115-0. It passed the Illinois Senate by 55-0. And Governor Rauner is expected to sign that bill with an implementation in June 2018 and full implementation at other offices other than the Secretary of State following that in the years after. This is automatic voter registration is extremely important. As the local election official, I want to make sure that our voter rolls are as accurate as possible, and automatic voter registration helps in that effort. So that was announcement number 1. Announcement number 2, there's a quick slide show that.
Is that problems with the computer? It froze, and we're trying to fix it right now.
Perfect. Well, either way, I will quickly, so the Cook County Clerk's Office put out a post-election report, and interns from my office and I today consolidated some of that information into Evanston-specific data. What's great is we, in 2009, our voter turnout was 22%. 2013, it was 15%, and this year we saw a record 37% turnout. All of this information can also be found on Facebook with the Clerk's Evanston Facebook page. Evanston had the 6th Ward had the highest voter turnout in the city with 52.85% voter turnout. Evanston, when compared to townships, to similar townships, actually had the highest voter turnout for a city of our size. And we had, almost 40% turnout. An average wait time for voting here in Evanston was 11 to 20 minutes. And in the North Shore, again, we had the highest voter turnout. So that concludes that. Lastly, communications to the clerk. All of the members of the council have been distributed a petition from Dr. Jesus Christ, you guys have it in front of you. I think I gave
Michael Stevens.
from Dr. Stevens regarding the property at 1831 Emerson. So that is distributed to you all, as well as another gentleman contacted the office, Patrick Long, regarding the brothel ordinance, and I have documents to distribute to you all regarding that. And the ordinance that limits no more than 3 people living in one dwelling, 3 unrelated folks living in one dwelling. So thank you. That concludes my comments.
All right, thank you, Clerk Reed. Public comment. We've got the sign-up sheet right here. We've had quite a few people sign up for public comment. So following our rules, in order to get this done within a 45-minute window, everyone today is going to be allotted no more than 2 minutes for public comment. I will ask, because I know a lot of you have been here for a long time, that if someone else has been up here and said the same exact thing, you could get up and just say, I feel the same way that Mary does, or whatever, or you could pass. That is okay. I am going to give you a notice at 1:45 to wrap it up in 15 seconds. We really need to be respectful of everybody that's in this room. Everybody has a lot of input that they want to give. And so with that, let's go ahead and get this public comment underway. The first up is Linda Young.
Good evening. I'm here to speak tonight about the Municipal Electricity Aggregation Program. I serve on the Environment Board. I've served on it for about 3 years, and I'm here to share with you that the Evanston Environmental Board last week voted unanimously to support renewal of Municipal Electricity Aggregation Program. This program's been in effect since 2012. It was voted on through a referendum. 73% of the voters voted for it. And over this time, the City of Evanston has been able to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions significantly, become a leader nationally in best practices, and also be able to achieve the goals of the Evanston Livability Plan. This program really has no risks or downside. It allows residents to have 100% renewable energy for their electricity source, and if anyone should choose to not want to use this supplier, they have the option to opt out. It's available for all residences and small businesses, and so we would like to urge the council to renew the municipal aggregation program for the 3 years that is in front of you. Again, to continue the leadership of Evanston nationally, help us meet our greenhouse gas emissions reductions goal, and assure the success of the livability plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And you did that in 1:20. Good job. All right. Next up, Eric Passett.
Well, my name is Eric Passett, and I'm the owner of North Shore Apartments in Evanston. And my reason to come here tonight is I'm speaking up against permanent parking. I'm part of a management team of a lot of buildings in Evanston. And the one that's been brought to my attention today, which I'm pretty disgusted by, we have a building at 2544 Prairie in Alderman Ravel's ward. Just south of our building, which would be just south of the alley, people can park, get a permit, no problem. People north of Central get a permit, no problem. 38 residents in our building cannot get a permit. Okay? The answer I got when I came to the city of Evanston on Friday was they can find a parking about 2 blocks away from a building. Our building pays a lot of property taxes, just like anybody else does. Why can't our tenants have a place to park? It's unacceptable to say, we'll get back to you. I feel like that. This happened in another building of ours where Alderman Holmes was, when she was an alderman, and she made an exception to a rule, gave a tenant of ours a permit. This is not for the building owners. This is for a tenant, okay? They have just as much rights as anybody else does in this city, okay? They have a right to park on the street. If we do not change that rule in your ward, 38 residents of ours will have nowhere to park. Up and down Harrison, all residential parking. Up and down Prairie, all residential parking. Up and down Central, all metered parking. Where are 38 residents supposed to park? Nowhere. There is nowhere you could rent parking. There's nothing. Okay? That's the answer to that question. I have a
We have
physician
15
that just
more
moved in.
seconds, Eric.
Okay. I have another building in yours. Tenant is told now they can't get a permit. That's unacceptable. Why can't we make an exception to a rule? Say that they're in a business district. They're a resident. They're not a business.
Thank you.
Unacceptable.
Thank you, Eric. Next public speaker is Ann Langen. Excuse me if I'm mispronouncing names here. I'm trying to read the writing. Is there an Ann Langen? Okay. Let's go with, this one got crossed with another one. Kitty Finn? Kitty Finn? All right, we're moving right through here. How about Gretchen? I can't read the last name. Della Torreni? Gretchen? Okay, am I reading from the right list here? All right, this is Pueblo City Council Chamber meeting. How about John Lindenberger? Lindenberger? No, that's John, not Don. Yep. All right, how about Sarah Stewart? All right. Welcome, Sarah.
My first time here, be nice. Good evening. I'm here because I'm opposed to the dorm that is proposed for the site at 831 Emerson. Now, the developer can call it something else, but it's still a large off-campus student dorm. I attended a meeting at the library that had well over 100 people, so I'm familiar with the proposal for this project, and it is a dorm. Now, the developer has also said that someone will be living at the sites in the building, sort of like a manager, I guess. But my concern is not what goes on in the building, it's what goes on in the neighborhood. I do not want to see an additional 600 or 700 students walking around noisily outside my bedroom window. You see, my bedroom is on the first floor, and my bedroom window, my whole unit, my whole co-op that I own, I'm not a renter, so I'm there. It's on the first floor, and my bedroom, unfortunately, is on the street, and my bedroom is about 6 feet from the sidewalk, and I regularly have lots of students walking by, coming back late from the library or parties or wherever, and they're noisy because they're kids, and they are noisy. They're talking on the cell phone, they're talking with other people. Nobody is supervising them. That building is going to add an extra 600 or 700 students to my neighborhood, and a lot of them are going to be walking by my window. About a week ago, I had a girl across the street from my bedroom window. It was only about 10 o'clock at night, so it didn't bother me too much because I wasn't asleep yet. But she sees her friend about a block away, and she lets out this really loud, sort of like I would call an animal mating call. And he sees her, and he
15 more seconds,
responds with
Sarah.
this inhuman call, and he keeps walking towards her. It was cute, but that's what students do. It's not cute when you're sleeping. And real quickly, I just want to mention that you have the Symphony rehab building that'll be adversely impacted by this building, where they have the, you know what Symphony is.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to developing the site. I just
our
think
2
there are
minutes.
better uses for it. I'd love to see some affordable housing, working adults, young adults, seniors. We need affordable housing. Let's build that there instead of another dorm.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, next up, Cecily? Cecile. All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I live in the neighborhood surrounding the 831 Emerson building, and I have attended numerous meetings related to proposed developments at this location. I'm concerned about the significant negative impact on the neighborhood of the proposed development. The proposed development would be too massive for its lot size. The current zoning C1 allows a building up to 45 feet tall to be built with a FAR floor area ratio of 1.0. The proposed development requires that the zoning be changed to C1A, which would allow the building to be up to 67 feet tall with a floor area ratio of 4.0. However, the proposed development exceeds even that height and floor area ratio. The proposed development is 98.5 feet tall with a FAR of 466. The only zoning with requirements that would allow a building this tall and massive for its lot site is D4, the zoning for the most tall and massive downtown buildings. 831 Emerson is not downtown, and a building this tall and massive for its lot size is not appropriate for this location. The proposed development would be too densely populated. The maximum number of permitted dwelling units, based upon the lot size is 121 units, yet the proposal is for 242 units, twice the maximum permitted number of units for the lot size. The residents of the 242 units would contribute to the significant traffic congestion, already a huge problem, on the blocks of Emerson between Sherman and Green Bay Road. Also, the sidewalks on the 800 block of Emerson are currently not wide enough for the pedestrian traffic. We already have,
Cecile, 15 more seconds.
Oh, sure, okay. And the proposed development does not fit in with the buildings in the surrounding area because it has no setback, and every other building in the immediate and surrounding area is set back a good distance. Please do not approve this proposed development, which would be such a detriment to our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Claire Kettlecamp.
All right, I'm Claire Kettlecamp, and I'm here to speak about the development on Emerson. I'm here in favor of the development. I'm familiar with Focus and the positive impact they've had on our community with the revitalization of downtown. I'm also familiar with Ted Wolf and BKL Architecture. I know that this design team has done every revision, redesign asked of them, and I think it would be an asset to the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, Janad Risky.
Looking at tonight's agenda items, unfortunately, we have more of what I consider dishonest fiscal manipulation of the budget. 3.1 is a joke. A citywide generator evaluation is going to generate cost savings for bathrooms at Fleetwood Jourdain. I'd like to have Mr. Stonebeck come up here and explain how this is going to occur. It's a total fabrication. At P&D, Mr. Stonebeck mentioned the structural failure was totally incomprehensible to me, what he said. I'll bore you the report and see what that's all about. 3.5, we have more of this fiscal nonsense on Howard Street that we continue to have all the time. It appears money's being directed out of other city funds to do a parking study as a change order. Here again, residents in the 8th Ward go without sidewalks, but we have money to basically do a study for the Howard Street TIF. It looks like the TIF should have funded this. I really wonder how many of the other, we all know the long history of the TIF. It's a little, well, I'm not going to even say that. It's a waste of time. Harley Clark, I know, is coming back. And frankly, listening to some of the people tonight and the nonsense there, I think Mr. Bobkowitz, and this was the Rules Committee did not meet, should be held accountable for his, the failure of Harley Clark and where it's been over the last 3 years. And that should be well written into his next evaluation, that he basically is going to be held accountable to get it done and stop roadblocking it, which he has done in the past. And I'll speak to that. And finally, the Rules Committee didn't meet again on the ethics violation of Alderman Holmes, former Alderman Holmes, I should say. And that is still sitting out there and has not been resolved. So I'll be asking when you're going to deal with that. Because this council is in a habit of hiding things and leaving things they don't want to discuss.
15 more seconds.
All right. Leaving things they don't want to discuss, they just let them go away. And that seems to be a very common practice here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Dr. Michael Stevens.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This afternoon, I submitted to the city clerk a two-page petition by Sherman Garden residents who are opposed to the ordinance 37017, the so-called 831 Emerson project. Sherman Gardens is a cooperative apartment complex consisting of 5 buildings, 1856 through 1866 Sherman, and 132 units. This petition represents one building only, 1864, which is my building. There are 28 households in the 1864 building. Of those 28, 2 households have already taken a public position on the city council meetings regarding the ordinance, so they were not contacted. One resident is a current trustee, and the other is a former trustee. I believe both of them are here tonight. We contacted all 26 of the remaining households personally by telephone. 8 of the households were either away or unreachable. Excuse me. That left 18 potential households. The petition represents 12 households, 16 residents. Of the 6 remaining households, 4 were not interested in signing at this time and/or felt they needed more information. Only 2 households, 2 people, said that they were not opposed to the current application. In summary, 2/3 of the households that were reachable were opposed to the current application. That's 12 households out of 18. I believe the petition is representative of our co-op. Many people were quite enthusiastic about signing the petition and were glad to receive more information about the application.
10 more seconds, please.
Our experience was that the more factual information people had, the more they realized that this project was not the right one for this site. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Next speaker, Jonathan Newsoma.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Jonathan Newsma, President of Citizens Greener Evanston, and I want to speak briefly in support of continuing community choice electricity aggregation with renewable energy. We've got the wind at our backs with the pricing, so I expect that vote will go pretty smoothly. But as long as I have everybody's attention, I just wanted to thank the mayor for your swift and decisive action in your announcement that Evanston will stay in the Paris Accord, despite the failure of our national leadership to do so. I'll thank City Manager Bob Kowitz for promoting Kumar Jensen to the position of Sustainability Coordinator. We look forward to working with Kumar in setting the next goal for our community's greenhouse gas reduction. And I'd like to also thank the City Council for not only being open and receptive to talking about sustainability, but I would go so far as to say your embrace of sustainability as reflected in now 5 years of renewable energy under aggregation, and looks like it will be going on 8 years. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, we have, I apologize if I mispronounce this, Sahib Khan.
Hi, I'd like to just echo what Jonathan said. I worked on a student consulting project with, I'm a Northwestern undergraduate student. I worked on a student consulting project for the past quarter with Citizens Greener Evanston, looking at community aggregation. And I just wanted to echo the fact that I appreciate what the city's doing. Would like you to take that through your contract, obviously. But that student awareness of Evanston kind of trying to reduce carbon emissions is something that I didn't know was there, and is something that we can really capitalize on. And I think students, student body, teachers, everything are really behind it, and we'd really love to cooperate going forward. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, Cecina Hale. Cecina Hale. Okay. Moving right along then, we've got Diane Petersmark.
Hi, I live at Sherman Gardens, directly across the street from the 831 project, so it's near and dear to my heart. This is a really crappy small lot with some real problems in the soil remediation department. The only thing it's really got going for it is the location, and now the location is being called into question because it's on the north side of Emerson instead of the south side of Emerson. Technically, it doesn't fit in with the new north downtown plan because it's on the north side. But because of this lot size and because of the expense to clean up the lot, I don't think we're going to find any developer who's willing to put in the effort and the expense to get this thing rebuilt. Right now, it's a rundown, falling apart building. It's an eyesore. We need to get somebody in there, and Focus has shown themselves to be very, very cooperative. They've done great things with the design to try and blend into the neighborhood. You're never going to get a modern building to blend in with two 40-something, 50-something years old buildings, but they have really done their homework, they've done the work, and what they've come up with, I think, personally, is acceptable. And it's definitely more acceptable to me than staring out at that dry cleaner and the gym that's basically falling off the side of the building. So I would urge you to think twice about denying this property because I'm not sure we're going to ever find anybody else that's willing to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Schollenberger.
I'm Don Schollenberger. I live in 1864 Sherman, and I just want to say ditto to everything Diane Petersmark said, and I would like to expand a little bit on that. After the original project was defeated, the Sherman Gardens trustees, of which I was one at the time, asked for a meeting with Focus Development and the Ipshin family to discuss future development of the property. At our meeting, Focus presented us with a revised plan which Sherman Gardens trustees found acceptable with only a few minor changes to which they agreed. Since that time, additional changes have come up and have been requested, and they have made every effort to accommodate those sections or those requests. As has been previously pointed out, in some ways, this project is probably as good as we're going to get in that location. And I would even go as far as to say, I think that building and the redevelopment, not only in the First Ward, but the North Downtown area, has the potential of being an asset not only in the First Ward, but in the city of Evanston as well. The architecture is very much in keeping with the neighborhood, as is its height. The people who will be occupying this development, unlike what you heard a few minutes ago, are going to be young professionals who cannot or can no longer afford the Gold Coast, Near North, and Lincoln Park, but need access to CTA and Metro. You will also have older couples and singles who have sold their homes and prefer to remain in the area, and graduate students on stipend who are attending Northwestern.
15 more seconds, Don.
Okay. I want to say in closing, and I'm not getting everything I'd like to say, there are going to be delays and setbacks. We learned that with the Sherman Gardens parking lot, believe me, and I could only say, God, thank God you didn't let us find a skeleton out there. But in closing, I want to thank Focus Development for bending over backwards to try to meet the concerns of the neighborhood, and I urge the City Council, as Diane has, to approve this so it can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Marlon Milner.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'll be back to get my other 60 seconds. Good evening. I live in the 8th Ward. I'm here to talk about Royce Moore School. This March, my 7-year-old daughter was injured at the school. She required immediate emergency room medical attention. Royce Moore mishandled the situation and miscommunicated with me. Though they apologized, they refused to answer additional questions, get specific staff and administrator apologies, or send a message of accountability to parents about their emergency response plan to avoid future failures. After pointing out additional school failures, my demands were met with a threatening letter to muzzle me and dictating my children's immediate withdrawal with a month of school left. I was banned from the school except for pickup and drop off, although Royce Moore was the one that posed a threat. In sum, we were forced out. Only then did I get a lawyer to keep my kids in the school. I'm deeply offended at the disrespect, indignity, lack of transparency, and blaming the victim Royce Moore has done. I need to state the obvious, though. I'm a single black father, and every staff person and administrator who has dealt with me or avoided dealing with me at Royce Moore is white. I'm not aware of any African American teachers, administrators, or board members at Royce Moore. What does this have to do with the city of Evanston? The city has a human rights ordinance which you all know says in part, quote, "The city of Evanston discourages unlawful discrimination and unequal treatment against individuals," and, quote, "strongly supports the treatment of all individuals with respect and dignity." This is an opportunity to prove the law is not a resolution. As we know, resolutions have no effect. What is more, the city subsidized Royce Moore's ability to exist in 2011 when council approved a government bond deal providing Royce Moore with more than $13 million. I'm not here to make a legal, moral, or ethical argument. I'm here to demand a political solution, and I'll be back to further explain so you know how to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Madeline Ducray.
Good evening, everyone. Madeline Ducray here. Good morning, good afternoon, people at the houses. Okay, I did not mention this to our new alderman, and that was because of a reason, no disrespect. I wanted to get the feel of the community on how they would react to a West Side Library at 1723, I think it is, Ramsey. Old Ramsey building, closed down now. That would be a beautiful building for a West Side Library, don't you think? I would like our aldermen and the council members to consider this and consider it fairly. I would speak some more about it, but I got my time timed. Number two, I would like to know about abortion, the human side of that effect. Human family planning. And I'm speaking on this because many black women now are at the top of the list for abortion. White women following. There was a time when black women was halfway on the list, if not too many at all. I'd like the health department to give some statistics on this, to let us know how we are doing in Evanston about this issue, because it concerns me. I have grandchildren and other children that I may call grandchildren.
30 more seconds.
I'll say, I also want to mention about the Oma truck that came on my block June 1st. I did not like it. I did not like the way it was presented on my block. And I use Ann Rainey as an example. When, and I've heard you said this, Ann Rainey,
15
do not
more
want
seconds.
the armored truck in front of my house, just the way I do, on the side or whatever, okay? We don't need it. We have enough complaints in our neighborhood as it is. I also want to mention two officers, Officer Lang and Officer Yates, who arrested my son, okay? Now, he did not know that my son had 2 arrest warrants, which he thought the lawyer had taken, okay? Now, how did he do that? Did he profile? Stop and frisk? I want somebody to tell me, Chief of Police to tell me at the meeting on June 20th, okay? Thank you. I have lots more to say next time. Thank you.
Madeline. Next speaker, Alex Morgan.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. My name is Alex Morgan. I'm at 728 Hinman Avenue. Wanted to echo some of the earlier statements and say that I'm here to speak in support of item A3.4 regarding community electrical aggregation. Appreciate the mayor stating that climate change is real. Appreciate city staff putting together a memo that supports 100% renewable energy mix. The only thing that really stood out to me, and I've heard some folks talk about the moral compass of this council, is there's a company listed here that I appreciate that we're pushing, and that's Dynegy Energy, to purchase renewable energy credits. But I'm reminiscing on a time 2 years ago when I was walking Capitol Hill with a woman from Peoria named Robin Garlish, who was telling, we made it to every member of the Illinois delegation, telling every member of that delegation about how she had to do infant CPR on her newborn child because that child was suffering from an asthma attack because they lived in the shadow of the Edwards coal plant right there in Peoria. Dynegy is a company that owns 9 coal plants in the state of Illinois, and while I appreciate that they have merged with Homefield to provide more renewable energy credits in our communities. I just want to emphasize this point to say that there is more that we as a community can do to push forward on combating climate change. And so if we have the opportunity to interface with Dynegy City Manager, I hope that you will emphasize that we don't support their dirty energy efforts and that we're happy to negotiate when we're doing things that are productive for our community and our planet, our whole state, our whole country, and our whole globe moving forward. So thank you for what I hope will be support of this item on the agenda and what I hope will be continued advocacy moving forward.
Thank you, Alex. All right, and the last public speaker is Betty Esther. All right, good evening, Betty. We have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Okay. On May the 22nd, the council accepted the Human Service Committee's suggestion, which was to reject the proposal that the farmers group had worked on, and that the mayor would be selecting the people that would be working on a plan to improve the current citizen review plan. We haven't heard anything. We don't know whether the community will have any input with this committee, how this, I know you are selecting them, but from where and who? Will these meetings be open to the public, or will they be closed meetings? Will the community have a chance to put in their input as to what they feel should be in the new complaint review process? These things have not been there as before. The Citizens Network of Protection has a proposal. We have been working on that proposal for the past 8 years, and hopefully in 2 weeks or less, maybe a little more, we will be presenting to the community, the resident, this complete proposal that they will have a chance to review and have input. We will still wait to hear what you're going to do with your committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment. We will now go to the consent agenda. Alderman Rainey, because we didn't have a chance to have the rules committee, I'd suggest on the consent agenda perhaps we do the approval of the minutes and the payroll, then we take a vote. So Alderman Suffredin can recuse himself on the payroll because of the issue with Amazon, and then we can go into the rest. Does that?
All right.
You're the.
Hopefully, when we have the Rules Committee meeting, we can discuss Alderman Suffredin recusing himself on the bills, because I really don't understand that. All right. The consent agenda is as follows. First item is approval of the minutes of the council meeting of May 8 and May 15. That is for action. Administration Public Works Committee met this evening, and we are recommending approval of the payroll through May 14, $2,913,680.94, and through May 28, $2,778,643.60. Alderman Suffredin, I'm not sure, do you recuse yourself before or after I move approval?
I'd suggest because of the Amazon issue, I'd suggest probably we do City of Evanston bills.
City of Evanston bills as amended this evening, June 13, 2017. The amount amended is $5,340,554.79. I move approval. Somebody has to say second.
Okay, I heard a second over here, and City Clerk Reed, could you take the roll call?
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Ravel. Alderman Rainey.
Aye.
Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Okay, the ayes have it, 8-0, with Alderman Suffredin recusing himself on the vote.
All right.
Okay, back to the consent agenda, A31.
Okay. A31, Administration Public Works recommends approval of a contract with CCJM Engineers Limited for citywide generator evaluation in the amount of $54,339.99. A contract is recommended with Construction Consulting and Disbursement Services, Inc. for Fleetwood Jourdain washroom renovations in the amount of $182,900. We recommend your approval for a contract with L&R Construction Company for James Park Northfield renovations in the amount of $930,062.30. We recommend also a master agreement for community electricity aggregation. The City Council is asking that we authorize the city manager to execute a master agreement to provide services to an aggregated group. The RFP was 1733 with Dynergy Energy Services, LLC, for a 36-month term with a 100% renewable energy mix for the fixed price of 7.132 cents per kilowatt hour. Next, we ask your approval for a contract with a change order number 2 for a contract with various parking lot improvement engineering with Gawalt Hamilton Associates. Change order was requested by Alderman Rainey to expand the scope of work to include analysis and design of on-street parking on Callan in Ward 8 of the City of Evanston and will cost $17,750. A3.6 is a sole source renewal of contract agreement with Call One. The contract is for telecommunication services in the amount of $129,000, and this begins June 13, 2017. The projected annual cost is 14% reduction based on our previous year's billing. A sole source contract renewal is requested of Excella Maintenance and Support Agreement for a period of 2 years at a cost of $89,945.28. This represents a 43% reduction from last year's cost, and this goes through February 28, 2019. We're asking that you approve a purchase of 6 replacement vehicles for the Public Works Agency from Curry Motors in the amount of $126,479, JX Peterbilt in the amount of $546,487.50, and Standard Equipment in the amount of $330,493.65. Also requested is a contract with Havey Communications for emergency lighting and sirens in the amount of $80,960. Your approval is requested for a sidewalk cafe at 1009 Davis Street for Euro Revolution. This is for action. Approval is requested for applications for landscaping service assistance through the Great Merchants Grant Program for 5 Evanston Business District areas. Evanston West End Business Association, $8,640. Central Street Business Association, $5,760. Dr. Hill's Art Business District, $10,000. Howard Street Business Association, $1,850, and West Village Business Association, $7,300. Funding is from Economic Development Business District Improvement Program. The first quarter financial report for fiscal year 2017 was reported tonight, and we are requested to accept and place this on file. Resolution 53R17 authorizes the city manager to execute payments for emergency structural shoring for the service center parking structure. Moshe Calamaro and Associates, Belfour Property Restoration, KPFF Consulting. The payments are $4,983, $23,951.64, and $3,500. Additional costs for rental and structural shoring in the amount of $962.50 a week. That will be until a resolution has been derived. Resolution 54R17 is a parking lease agreement with 2424 Dempster, doing business as Kabul House, for parking spaces on McDaniel Avenue located at 2424 Dempster Street. Resolution 55R17 is to adopt a complete and green network policy and construction projects within the public right-of-way and public spaces for action this evening. Ordinance 50017 is for introduction and amends the city code to establish a four-way stop control at the intersection of Woodbine Avenue and Jenks Street. Ordinance 51017 is also for introduction and authorizes the sale of surplus fleet vehicles owned by the City of Evanston through the Special Northwest Municipal Vehicle Auction. Ordinance 46017 is for introduction tonight and amends the City Code, Section 9515, regulating small unmanned aircraft in the City of Evanston. Planning and Development Committee met this evening and moves for introduction Ordinance 7017, amending portions of the City of Evanston zoning code regulating generators. And I think that was held in committee. That will be addressed by the committee chair. This is not on the consent agenda. P2 is 47017, granting landmark status to building and lot of record at 1726 Hinman. That is for introduction. It might be also addressed by the committee chair. We shall see. P3, ordinance 37017, I believe probably should be off the consent agenda. Or I could leave it on. Okay, all right. That's off the consent agenda and will be addressed by the committee chair. Human Services Committee, Ordinance 48017 is for introduction and amends the City Code definitions and the City Code Section 814.6 penalty, drug paraphernalia control. Has to do with taking things out of the criminal code and having to do with putting them in the City Code. Economic Development Committee met earlier this month and recommends approval of funding for a 12-month period for the Chicago North Shore Convention and Visitors Bureau in the amount of $81,174 for a period commencing July 1 through June 30th, 2018. O2 is off the consent agenda. And has to do with the entrepreneurial support program. That will be addressed by EDC's chair. 03 is storefront modernization program application for Sharp Edge CrossFit at 1324 Dodge. We recommended financial assistance in the amount not to exceed $50,000 for interior and exterior renovation. That funding is from the Economic Development Business District Improvement Program. That's for action. Mr. Mayor recommended the appointment of a new committee known as Alternative to Arrest. It's a special committee. He's recommended Dr. Michael Neighbors, Patrick Keenan-Devlin, Sean Jones, and Jack Henry. Those are four appointments tonight. With that, Mr. Mayor, I move the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, then the consent agenda, and correct me, you guys, if I'm wrong, with the amendments of pulling off P1, I just want to make sure we got this, all right? So A9, excuse me, nope, A9 staying on, sorry. P1, okay, which is the regulating the generators. P2, which is 1726 Hinman. P3, which is 831 Emerson. And then O2, which is the entrepreneurial program. Okay, so the motion on the floor then is to approve the consent agenda with these items removed from the consent agenda. City Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Alderman Fisk. Alderman Braithwaite. Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Wilson. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin. Alderman Ravel. Alderman Rainey. Alderman Fleming.
Aye.
9 to nothing.
So it's not the 9 to nothing. The motion passes for the consent agenda. All right, moving on to the report of the standing committees. Alderman Braithwaite, Administration and Public Works. I don't think we have anything. I don't think we do. That was quick. All right. Alderman Rainey, Planning and Development.
Okay. So Mr. Mayor, we did move the landmark matter, the Hinman matter, to the council for our next meeting. However, we're going to have a great deal of discussion on that and get extra information. The next item is Ordinance 37. I'm going to move approval of Ordinance 37017, granting a special use approval for a planned development and rezoning and special use for a convenience store at 831 Emerson. Move approval.
Second.
Okay. Alderman Fisk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, let me say that everyone would like to see some redevelopment on this property. As it currently stands, it's extremely unattractive. It's vacant. The property has been in the same family hands for a long time. And obviously, everyone wants to move ahead as quickly as possible with putting something that's attractive and a benefit on that site. However, I don't think we're there yet. In my ward, there has been a lot of objections to the building that is proposed, and there are a few things I want to say about that. If you look at the zoning map, this particular parcel started out as single-family homes a long time ago. It was then rezoned for small-scale commercial use and is now surrounded by R5 zoning up to the L tracks. So, R6 zoning begins on the west side of the L tracks. But R5 zoning, which is consistent with everything else on the block, is as it says in our documents, intended to provide for infill development of a mix of multifamily residential structures at a medium density, including townhouses, two-family dwellings, three-story walk-ups, and courtyard apartment buildings. If you go to R6 zoning, the R6 general residential district is intended to provide for high-density residential development of primarily multiple family dwellings, particularly in and around the downtown area. When the first project, the rent-by-the-bed private dormitory, was proposed, and we turned that down at council, there were many concerns from the neighborhood. In response, we took a look at the block as a council and said, we really need to think about what the vision for this block is, and started the North Downtown planning process, which included a lot of public input over many months. And the consensus out of that was really something that people who live in the neighborhood have known for a long time, and that is there is a difference between the north side of Emerson and the south side of Emerson. South side of Emerson has traditionally been part of the downtown. North side of Emerson is a transitional area. Right now, on the north side of Emerson, there is only one single-story building that was actually made as a extension of a single-family or a multiple-family house that goes up to the lot line. Everything else has significant setbacks. So if I think back to the beginning of the discussion about what to use and what to place on the site, the property owner had a longstanding lease with the 7-Eleven. And as those of you who are familiar with the site, 7-Eleven right now has a parking area in front of it, so the 7-Eleven is set way back on the site. So there was a sense that was removed from being too intrusive on the street. As an accommodation to the property owner, I believe we made every effort to try to find a way to keep the 7-Eleven in zoning that was consistent with that, and that's where I believe staff came up with the suggestion for the C1A district. And unfortunately, the C1A district allowed the developer to push the building up to the lot line. And I find that, and have told the developer this on occasions, that I find that totally inconsistent with the concept of a traditional zone on the north side of Emerson. Not only that, but I think it will set a really difficult precedent for us as a council when future developments come along and they also want to build up to the lot line. Now, today, the developer has made an adjustment to that and is now willing to push it back 3.5 feet, which I find, 3.5 feet is, well, you all know what 3.5 feet is. It's not very much. The years ago, when the reserve was built on the west side of Ridge in the 5th Ward, that piece of property had been the Bowman Dairy Company, it had been a grocery store, it had been an auto sales yard for a long time. It was zoned C2. When the decision was made to make that residential, the city council, in its wisdom, decided not to put a tower there, but to put a 3-story, I think it's 3 or 4 stories, I can't remember, building there and rezone it to R5. And the reason why they did that and chose not to go to a tower was because the neighborhood very strongly said the north side of Emerson is different than the south side of Emerson. We want buildings that will transition down into a livable height that's consistent with the neighborhood. And that's why that went down from C2 to R5. They certainly could have gone to R6 because R6 is right across the street. So I look at this as what's going to happen to this side of the street in the future. And my concern is that if we don't have a setback, and a setback for R6, the setback is 27 feet. And that's something that I've asked the developer if they can make work. Apparently they can't, since they've only come up with 3.5 feet. But I think that setback is extremely, extremely important so that we don't contribute to the future canyonization of Emerson Street. And I see that coming. Now, the other thing I want to say about the North Downtown Plan is that one of the reasons that we were doing that was really to create a comprehensive plan that would allow light and air and traffic and not close off our streets in the way that this building ultimately would do. So I know the folks at Sherman, some of the folks at Sherman Gardens, and I would say a lot of folks at Sherman Gardens are not in support of this. Some folks at Sherman Gardens are in support of this. I understand that they want to see something on that site as quickly as possible. But there are there are a lot of folks there that are upset about this, but there are more people in the neighborhood who are very concerned about this project. I think we can get it right. I think we can work with the developer to get this right. I would like to work with the developer to get this right. I'm a little confused about why, when we tried to give them so much time, this is the best that we've come up with. Now, I think other people will probably touch on the lack of public benefits, the lack of true public benefits, but I will just say very, very quickly that I think this council really needs to think about what public benefits are. And I'm very upset when folks come in, are asking for massive zoning relief, and are telling us that things are public benefits when they're already required. And then they change and say, no, well, we meant community benefits. Well, we need public benefits. I mean, if we're going to take a leap this far, they need to be true public benefits. And frankly, I don't think paying taxes or paying into the Affordable Housing Fund or divvy bike contributions, I mean, two of those things are required by ordinance. I don't see a $20,000 divvy bike contribution or a painting of a viaduct. I don't see those as public benefits. So I'm going to ask you to, unfortunately, if we have to deny this, to deny it, but go back to the table immediately with the developer and see what we can do here that doesn't destroy the future development along Emerson Street and really gives us an opportunity to come up with something that really works on the site.
Thank you, Alderman Fisk. Is there any other discussion? Alderman Wilson.
Yeah, thanks. When we passed the inclusionary housing ordinance, I think this is what we asked for. You know, I'm just honestly, in a lot of ways, I'm very baffled that the conversation is pushed as far as it is. The original proposal had a lot of issues. I voted against the original proposal. I think that was the right thing to do for the rent by the bed. It seemed to me clearly student housing. But the developer has evolved the project significantly over a period of time. And you know, we continue to have conversations about plans, and honestly, the longer I do this, the more I am developing a great aversion to plans, because it seems like the plans end up being an impediment to ideas and innovation. So part of our big plan was to do this inclusionary housing ordinance. More density, higher. The things that go with that are smaller units. If we're going to require a much more significant setback, they've reduced the height. If we want a really big setback, it's going to be a lot taller. So we're going to push it one way, but it's going to go back up the other way. And it's going to come back to us, and it's going to be too tall. So it just seems like we're ending up in this cycle where we've put something out there. Here's what we want. We want transit-oriented development. We're going to require people to make these very substantial payments for the inclusionary housing ordinance. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to the proposal that's generally along the lines of what we said we wanted, it's a big never mind. The units are too small. They're this, they're that. You know, I'm going to support this. I hope that the rest of my council members will support it. Alderman Fisk, you're not making illegitimate points. You're making legitimate points. But I think when you take this in the context of what we ourselves as a group have set out as parameters, and I voted against the inclusionary housing ordinance. So I did that knowing that this is what we're going to get. But we passed it. So now we have to live with what we've put out there. This isn't bad. I think it accomplishes a lot of the goals that we've set forth, and hopefully that we will get some support for this.
All right, thank you, Alderman Wilson. Alderman Ravel.
Well, I've been struggling with this proposed development since we first started talking about it months ago, and I'm mindful of the need for additional revenues for the city and for our schools, and I'm mindful of the importance of the additional funding for affordable housing. After enormous reflection, visiting the site numerous times, Basically, I think the proposed height is compatible with the nearby residential structures along Emerson. It fits within the guidelines that I know we haven't yet approved that are envisioned for this block of Emerson in the draft North Downtown Plan, namely a mixed-use, transit-oriented development of 6 to 12 stories. So this fits in with that, with those guidelines. I think its location on Emerson is, it's almost like it's in a little pocket. It's up against the CTA tracks. It's at the end of Benson Avenue. It fronts on the very busy Emerson Street. It's bordered on the east side by an alley and bordered on the north side by a parking lot. It's, I see it kind of interrupting the flow there on Emerson, and so I guess I don't see it necessarily creating a big precedent for what's further west on Emerson. I appreciate the addition of only the 3.5 feet of setback from the front lot line. I do think it gives a bit more elbow room to the sidewalk there for pedestrians, and so I will be supporting the proposal.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Ravel. Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Thank you. I appreciate the response by the developer to the original no. I believe that it was a thoughtful adjustment. Thoughtful adjustments were made, and I'm encouraged that we do have the inclusionary housing ordinance that was improved last year, and with that will come $2.4 million in affordable housing fund. Now, I understand that that is an ordinance and that's regulated and mandated, but that does not take away the fact that it is a public benefit. We all talk about wanting to expand affordable housing, and I think this is a great way to start to address that. They responded to the setback. I understand that some were requesting more, but they have responded to it. The additional increase in our tax revenue and some of the other public benefits that they've made, the divvy bike, I mean, I'm not so fired up about that, but I can see that they have made every effort to respond to the objections and the barriers that were before them and to accommodate the community. So I'm in full support of the project.
Thank you, Alderman Ruth Simmons. Alderman Rainey.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at my iPad here at Google Earth at the street view, and I'm looking at this mess that sits at 831 Emerson right now. And in front of it, across Emerson, I'm looking at this fortress known as Sherman Gardens. Some of my favorite people have lived at Sherman Gardens, but I swear to you, if it was proposed to be built today, I'd vote against it. It is the most intense, comprehensive fortress that we would never allow this to be built today, I don't believe. And I'm looking at 831 Emerson that is bounded by, as somebody just said, the railroad tracks and 1900 Sherman Avenue and Sherman Gardens. I think this is going to be a jewel in that area, 831 Emerson. I'm thinking it's a C1A. All right, so Alderman Fisk thinks it was a mistake because of the 7-Eleven, whether it was a mistake or not. There's another C1A, and that was at Maine and Chicago, correct? C1A? Is that a C1A? Pardon me? I think I read, staff, Maine and Chicago C1A? C1A.
We're going to confirm.
Pardon me? I think it is. Anyway, this property, if you think of nothing else about this property, number one, it is not a dorm. The testimony tonight about it being a dorm, that is not helpful testimony because it is not a dorm. We know it is not a dorm. That somebody walked down the street and screamed is not a reason to vote against this property. That is not helpful testimony. This is a very attractive building. It's going to have extraordinary amenities, and it's going to be a very desirable place to live. This property, when compared to Maine and Chicago, which I supported wholeheartedly, absolutely wholeheartedly. After it was explained to me, I supported the $2 million contribution to that property. We contributed $2 million to Maine and Chicago. We are contributing to 831 Emerson, which is, I believe, a C1A, correct? I think it's C1A. 2 C1As in the entire city of Evanston. Maine and Chicago, we gave $2 million. This property at 831 Emerson, historical event, they are contributing $2.4 million to the Affordable Housing Fund. You can call it a required ordinance. You can call it required by law. You can call it anything you want. If you don't recall this a public benefit, you're plain crazy. This is a public benefit. The city council, under this ordinance, can figure out a way to reduce this public benefit. This is a public benefit. We're taking the whole chunk, $2.4 million. We don't have we have never had $2.4 million in affordable housing money. This is cash. We're not going to wait for some developer to build affordable housing here. We're going to have $2.4 million. This is real cash money. We'll be able to provide affordable housing with this money. I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it, that if you vote against this, you are actually voting against affordable housing. I'm not going to say that, though. Because this is an opportunity to infuse money into our affordable housing fund. Where else? This is real money. $2.4 million. This is I never imagined we would get this kind of money. Now, if we vote for this project, we are going to send a message. Look at this. This is a fortress right here. And this is looks like a hazardous waste dump right behind it, but it's really 831 Emerson that is soon to be an extraordinary project that this city can be proud of. If we vote for this project, which I hope we are going to do, we're going to get $2.4 million. The next project that's waiting in line, because if we don't vote for this project, they're not going to be a next project waiting in line because everybody's waiting. I even told a developer I'm not going to talk to you because there's no point talking to you until we find out what's going to happen to this project, because you're probably not going to do anything if we don't vote for this. That project's going to bring in $3 million. So this affordable housing non-public benefit is going to beget $3 more million in affordable housing money. Can you imagine? It's already been calculated, the next project. So that's going to be $5 million. And we'll have this project to thank for it. So I am asking all of you to rethink the reasons you're not going to vote for this and think about the few good reasons that you can place a yes vote on this project.
Thank you, Alderman Rainey. Alderman Braithwaite?
I'll wait until Alderman Nguyen makes her comments.
Oh, okay. I had Braithwaite first, but Nguyen would like to go. Okay.
Thank you, Alderman Braithwaite. I, like Alderman Revelle, have really struggled with this project. Actually, Alderman Revelle and I walked the site one time in great detail. Initially, I did vote against the first project. It was not appropriate and not correct for this site at all, not appropriate for anywhere in Evanston. And when this project came forward to us initially, I was very concerned and upset that the zoning designation was C1A. And Alderman Rainey, I can talk to you later about the history of Maine and Chicago. We lost 2 lawsuits over that zoning there. And because I don't think C1A is a good zoning district, and I've already made a reference to the Plan Commission to create a different zoning district that accommodates the need to have both commercial and residential. That zoning district was the only one, C1A, that was available among our districts when the developer came in wanting to keep the 7-Eleven as well as have residential. So I can't blame the developer for ending up with C1A as a designation. And as I said, I've already set in motion the process so that we don't create more C1A. And one of the aspects of the site that I was very concerned about was the narrowness of the sidewalk. And I appreciate that the developer has added 3.5 feet to the front of the sidewalk. I was at the site this morning. I met with the developer, and we marched off what that additional footage would do. And I appreciate their listening to us on that. And also, like Alderman Revelle, I think this site is somewhat different because it is along the embankment. It faces, the back of it faces a parking lot, and it's in dire need of improvement. And the affordable housing aspect of it is very, very, very important to the city. Unlike Alderman Rainey and perhaps some others, I think if it's required by our law, that technically, in my mind, it's not a public benefit, but we don't necessarily need to get into that discussion at this point. I do see that as a significant boost to our affordable housing fund, and we need to move forward on that. So after a great deal of thought and struggle, and I wasn't sure how I was going to vote when I came here this evening, I have decided to vote in favor of this project, despite Alderman Rainey's attacks on Maine and Chicago. Did you get my text? And I recognize that the neighbors have worked very hard with the developer on this, and some people will be unhappy. I do think that this is the best project that we're going to get at this site. I appreciate Tim Anderson working with us. But I also do want to say that every project that is this dense is not going to get my approval, that not every project is appropriate for every site. And I think we, as a council, need to come up with very clear guidelines for the development community and for our neighbors so that we aren't in this guessing game and that we don't end up in a site-by-site battle. That doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help the developers because they can't plan, and it doesn't help the community because they don't know what to expect. So we need to resolve that issue. But on this project, I am going to vote in favor.
Thank you, Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Braithwaite?
I'll call the question.
We have one more comment here. Light up. Alderman Rainey, I've got.
Yes, the only reason I raised Maine and Chicago is because of the similar zoning districts. I supported that, and Maine and Chicago, I was on your team the entire way, and I thought you did a fabulous job bringing that project in because there were some criticisms of it. But, that lot, nothing went through more iterations than that corner. not because we had all these fabulous projects, but because nothing ever came there. I mean, people kept dying and lawsuits kept coming, so it was a little different than this. But you brought that in, and I thought it was fabulous, and I supported every inch of the way. So I wasn't criticizing, I was just making comparisons.
Okay, it's 10:30 at night. Alderman Braithwaite.
Yeah, I called the court. I did.
Call the vote. All right, so we have a motion to approve from Alderman Rainey, a second from Alderman Braithwaite. City Clerk, could you take the roll?
Gladly. Alderman Fisk?
No.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Yep.
Alderman Nguyen? Alderman Wilson? Alderman Ruth Simmons?
Aye.
Alderman Suffredin?
No.
Alderman Ravel? Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Motion carries 7-2. All right. Next committee report is Economic Development Committee. Alderman Nguyen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move approval of ordinance 47-017, granting, wait, excuse me, which number?
I've got
Sorry.
02.
02, sorry, I needed to turn the page. I move approval of financial assistance through the Entrepreneurship Support Program. This is for action.
Second.
All right. Any discussion?
I believe Alderman Ruth Simmons needs to, has a comment.
Okay.
Pursuant to Council Rule 11.1, I hereby abstain from voting on Agenda Item 02, as two of the businesses completed the program with Sunshine Enterprises Community Business Academy. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. City Clerk, unless there's any further discussion, City Clerk, can you take the vote?
Alderman Fisk?
Aye.
Alderman Braithwaite?
Aye.
Alderman Nguyen?
Aye.
Alderman Wilson? Alderman Rue Simmons? I'm sorry. No. Alderman Suffredin?
Yes.
Alderman Ravel? Alderman Rainey?
Aye.
Alderman Fleming?
Aye.
All right, the ayes have it, 8-0, with Alderman Ruth Simmons abstaining. Next on the agenda, excuse me, before we go to the next item, Alderman Fleming.
Yes, excuse me, Mayor, I actually had a question about O2, and I did not catch it in time to pull it off of the agenda item. May I ask that question?
I think the point of order, I think, is that we've covered,
All right,
we've covered and voted on it. Maybe,
all right.
maybe you can talk to the city manager or staff
Will
after.
do.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I meant 01.
Same thing.
Oh, item 01 was approved in the consent agenda. Yep, sorry. Okay, all right. Call of the wards. Let's see, we'll start with Alderman Fisk.
No report.
Alderman Braithwaite.
A couple of quick announcements. First, Mayor, thank you for the acknowledgement to the Joy family. For those of you that are interested in attending this funeral services for Xavier Joy, it's this Friday, June 16th at 12 p.m. There will be the memorial service. The location will be at Rockefeller Chapel. That's at the University of Chicago at 5850 South Woodlawn. I also want to thank you, Mayor, for joining us. This past Sunday, we dedicated the corner of Crane and Dewey, the Gay Riseboro Way, in celebration of the wonderful job in leading a group of volunteers to create Grandmother Park. And then lastly, they've been open for a few days, and I would like to officially look forward to the ribbon cutting for Kabul House, and that's going to be this Wednesday, 4 p.m. At 2424 Dempster, and you're all invited to attend if you can find the space on your schedule. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Nguyen.
No report.
Alderman Wilson.
No report.
Alderman Ruth Simmons.
Thank you. A very special thank you to the Evanston Public Library and the Digital Bookmobile. They came and visited the 5th Ward today at Over the Rainbow. So thank you to Over the Rainbow for making it possible, allowing them to park in their lot. We had residents from 0 to senior. It was a fully accessible event, so as you know, all of the residents at Over the Rainbow were able to participate in this. So we're excited and appreciative of the commitment from the Evanston Library. I would also like to ask that all Fifth Ward residents, business owners, organization leaders attend and participate in our Fifth Ward meeting. It is this Thursday, 7 p.m. at Gibbs Morrison. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Sufferton?
Sixth Ward meeting, June 22nd, 7 p.m., Lovelace Park.
Thank you. Alderman Ravel? Alderman Rainey?
I'd just like to clarify something about the change order for the Callan engineering work. There isn't going to be any study. That has to do with analyzing whether or not, how to save the trees, et cetera, in the engineering work. And this is not in a TIF district. Unfortunately, we won't be able to use any TIF money, as was told to the public tonight. There's no TIF money involved in that. I just wanted to clarify some of the citizen comment. Also, Clyde Brummel Park got cleaned up really well by our staff after our Clyde Brummel Park meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Alderman Fleming?
Yes, Ninth Ward meeting will be taking place Thursday, June the 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Levy Center.
Thank you. And then just one other update on my part based on public comment. The Citizen Civilian Review Complaint Board, I have gotten input in terms of the application and the questions in the past week, working with city staff, and we hope to have a application next week that we can get out the following week. And then we'll give an adequate amount of time for people to apply to be on that committee. Alderman Braithwaite?
My apologies. We both overlooked it, and Alderman Ruth Simmons looked at me. So this Sunday, Friday, thank you. This Friday's time? 6 p.m. at Evanston Township will be the second annual Evanston Own It concert. Third annual, I don't have it in front of me. Third annual, and definitely encouraging all members of council, if you're available, to attend. It's an amazing gathering of all the community choirs from the black churches in the 2nd and 5th Ward. The funds that are raised go to help fund the Mayor Summer Youth Employment Program, and I think year to date it's somewhere close to $15,000 or $20,000 that have been a cumulative fund that have been donated towards that effort. So you are all invited to attend. I think last year City Manager was there, and a few other aldermen. So if you're available, and also Alderman Nguyen, please join us. Thank you.
Terrific.
Tickets are $15.
Terrific. And Alderman Rainey?
Yes, I just wanted to let everybody know that Alderman Holmes was watching us tonight, and she's doing quite well. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. All right. Alderman Wilson, would you like to read the statement into executive session?
I have a motion, yes. Pursuant to 5 Illinois compiled statutes, ILCS 120/2A, I move that the City Council convene into executive session to discuss agenda items regarding personnel, collective bargaining, litigation, and minutes. These agenda items are permitted subjects to be considered in executive session and are enumerated exceptions under the Open Meetings Act. The exceptions are 5 ILCS 120/2A, C1, C2, and C11.
Is there a second motion to approve executive session?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn? Would someone like to make a motion? Would somebody like to second? All right, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourning this meeting at 10:33 into executive session.